Deadlock is in a very special place right now. At this exact moment, there's one unique aspect about Deadlock that is literally impossible for any other multiplayer game on the market to replicate, but it's not going to last forever. It's easy to overlook, but you can't help but appreciate it once you realize it. I think it's extremely important to cherish the state the game is in while it lasts before it slips away forever. So, enough beating around the bush. What on earth am I even talking about? Well, I want you to stop and take a moment to think about what's missing from Deadlock right now. What does every single competitive multiplayer game have that this game doesn't? What has Valve never given you the opportunity to do in this game? It might be hard to think of an answer because the game feels like a finished product at this point. There's an expansive roster of heroes, a richly detailed map, and 2 game modes that are a blast to play. The answer doesn't lie in the gameplay, it lies outside of the gameplay in the marketplace, or lack thereof. Deadlock does not have any skins, sprays, emotes, trinkets, charms, or decorations that you can buy as a microtransaction. There is not a single mode nor method by which you can pay Valve anything for this game. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people at this point have played Deadlock, and Valve has not made a dime. The game is free to play as long as you've spent $5 on your Steam account, which just about everyone and their mother has done long before Deadlock was even in development. Valve has maintained high-quality servers for hundreds of thousands of people to play on every day, and continued to produce exceptional content updates for the game without ever charging anyone a cent. It is, by all accounts that I am aware of, the most consumer-friendly game on Steam as a result. An entire metropolis worth of people is able to enjoy this game every day without even a hint of microtransactions being shoved in their face. This has multiple consequences for the state of the game, and Valve is probably the only company on the face of the planet that could pull this off. I want to discuss all of this over the course of the video, but before you think I'm here to just endlessly glaze Valve for the sake of getting those sweet YouTube bucks, I also want to say that I have some strong concerns about how the game will be monetized when that time eventually comes, and I'll be addressing that towards the end of the video. So first of all, how on earth is Valve able to accomplish this? Every other game studio needs to monetize their games through microtransactions or an upfront cost to make a profit and stay in business. Deadlock is, without a doubt, a giant money sink that's splashing red all over Valve's finances right now. So, what's going on here? Well, simply put, Valve has an infinite money glitch. They are an immensely rich company because of Steam. They take a cut from the earnings of every single game published on the platform, and Steam is the biggest PC gaming platform on the planet. To call them filthy rich would be an understatement. So, Deadlock can afford to burn a hole in Valve's wallet because, despite all the production and server costs, they're still making way more money from their other products than Deadlock costs to maintain. However, any greedy corporation would still take the opportunity to monetize the hell out of Deadlock. It's one of the biggest games on Steam right now thanks to the recent update, and they could be raking in cash from this game if they put in a little extra work to add some cosmetics. Why doesn't Valve do this? Well, thankfully for the entire gaming ecosystem, Valve is a privately traded company. It doesn't have shareholders expecting maximum profits above all else. The executives at Valve have the freedom to choose between squeezing the cash cow of Deadlock for every last drop, potentially at the cost of the game's quality, or focusing on quality first and monetization second. They chose the latter approach, and because of that, we the players benefit immensely. We get to witness the creation of one of the most incredible games that I've ever played without being nickeled and dimed for the experience. This lack of monetization actually has quite a few implications for the overall gameplay experience. Right away, we can state the obvious by mentioning how it's possible to spend hundreds, if not thousands of hours immersed in the game without being distracted or pestered by annoying pop-ups advertising the latest battle pass or skins. Players get to play Deadlock for the love of the game and nothing else, which is an incredibly pure experience. It almost feels like how games used to be a few decades ago before the plague of microtransactions infected all the biggest titles in gaming. Now, I wasn't actually playing competitive games at the time because when they were published, I either wasn't alive yet or was still drinking out of a bottle. But what I do know about gaming back then was that multiplayer games like Quake, Team Fortress, Half-Life Deathmatch, and the earliest iterations of Counter-Strike were solely focused on the gameplay with no microtransactions in sight. The developers of those games let you enjoy the gameplay experience without anything else getting in the way because you already paid the upfront cost to purchase the game in the first place. It was a simpler way to do things, and it certainly didn't make the developers as much money as modern gaming does now, but it was so much more consumer-friendly. The other effect this lack of monetization has is that the gameplay experience is much more refined. Skins are, by their very nature, distracting. Cosmetics need to stand out and dazzle the player so that they actually want to go out and buy them. Otherwise, the developers wouldn't make any money. If you're a casual player who likes collecting cool outfits for your favorite characters, then this is just fine. But if you're a competitive player interested in a tightly crafted gameplay, skins are terrible for the gameplay experience. By changing what the characters look like, you make it harder to distinguish who's who during gameplay at a glance. The more flamboyant the skin, the more intrusive it is on the gameplay experience. If you change the color scheme, the shape, the visual effects, and in some cases even the voice lines of a character through cosmetics, you detract from the competitive gameplay experience in a way that can be very frustrating. In some cases, cosmetics will even go as far as to make some characters look strikingly similar to other characters in the same game. While skins certainly look cool, they have a terrible impact on the visual clarity of a game. Now, of course, this type of game design isn't all sun and roses. It's definitely a double-edged sword with downsides for both players and developers. First of all, huge swaths of players all really enjoy the addition of skins for their favorite characters. There's a reason selling skins is the standard form of monetization. There is a ton of demand. Players want skins in Deadlock, and that's why cosmetic mods for this game are so popular. Old games could get away with not having evergreen monetization like this because they also didn't receive updates in the same way as modern games do. Multiplayer games in 2026 follow the live service format in which they receive a steady stream of content updates to keep players engaged, and that requires a constant flow of revenue to fund this increased development. At some point in time, Deadlock is going to have to introduce microtransactions to fund future updates, and that's what I want to talk about next. Valve has a history of adding extremely predatory monetization models to their games. They were one of the first and most prominent adopters of the loot box system in TF2 and Counter-Strike, and that absolutely sickens me. Gambling for cosmetics is a serious problem for multiple reasons. First and foremost, it's extremely addicting for some people. Gambling addicts keep casinos in business, and loot boxes are just another version of casinos that are only slightly more socially acceptable. I do not think that any video game should introduce a system like this that can hook people who are prone to a gambling addiction, especially from a young age. Loot boxes can also, in some cases, squeeze more money out of the consumer. If you want a specific skin out of a loot box, you might have to roll it multiple times to actually get the skin you're looking for. In some cases, that can cost more than just buying the skin directly at a fair price. It also results in consumers spending more money than they otherwise wanted to. I have fallen victim to this myself when I was rolling through chests back in my Paladins days. Loot boxes are, in my opinion, Valve's most egregious sin, and I'm gravely concerned that they'll add a similar system to Deadlock because they've already done it multiple times before. They have the infrastructure and architecture for such a system already in place via the Steam Marketplace, and it would certainly be the easiest way for them to monetize this game. It would be a travesty for such a great game to be tarnished by such a wretched system. However, that's not the only path that they could go down. Valve could certainly employ the conventional approach of our time and introduce a battle pass to the game. Overwatch has one, Marvel Rivals has one, and it certainly wouldn't be out of place in Deadlock either. Battle passes are less predatory than loot boxes, but they're still not perfect. They rely on FOMO mechanics to keep players hooked on the game, even if they'd rather play or do something else. Dota 2 is Valve's other blowout success of a MOBA title, and it also had regular battle passes for the longest time. However, this game actually gives me a glimmer of hope that Valve might have a better monetization scheme in store for Deadlock, because according to my research, Dota 2 no longer has any battle passes. Valve dropped the system a couple of years ago, which is honestly a great thing. The game still has loot boxes though, but choosing not to implement any future battle passes seems like a sign that they're relaxing towards more consumer-friendly monetization. Now, I could be wrong about Dota 2 because I don't actually play the game, so if I've missed anything, please correct me in the comments down below. Furthermore, I fear that Deadlock skins will be excessively bold and muddy the game's visual clarity, as I discussed earlier. Far too many games fall into the trap of adding cosmetics that are distracting or confusing in one way or another. Even Valve has fallen for this before, with some cosmetics in TF2 completely obfuscating its characters in a way that's jarring and detracts from the gameplay experience. I fervently praised the brilliant design of Deadlock's heroes in a previous video, and I'd hate to see that masterful design muddied by skins that are too over the top. My last concern is that the marketing for Deadlock's cosmetics will be too aggressive and in your face. Many games flaunt their latest cosmetics on the home screen as soon as you launch the game, begging you to buy something. It's a constant reminder that you're not just playing a game, you're interacting with a live service, and the company on the other end of the screen is jingling a shiny object in front of you hoping that you'll give them some money. It's obnoxious at best, and offensive at worst. As you can see, I have many concerns about the future of monetization in Deadlock based on past precedent and present industry standards. However, Valve doesn't have to stoop to the level of adding battle passes and loot boxes to their game. They can choose to take the high road and offer a form of monetization that is fair to the players. If I were in charge of Deadlock's monetization, I would implement a system similar to the microtransactions found in Path of Exile. Path of Exile is quite an old game now, and it's a game that has earned a lot of trust from its community because it's very respectful of the player's time and money. The game is frugal with the amount of advertisements it places in-game to the point that you'd be forgiven for not realizing that you can buy anything at all. Take a look at how the game treats you when you log in. The landing page doesn't have a single advertisement in sight. Where greedier companies would tout their latest skins here, Path of Exile chooses to highlight its community events. When you press play, it prompts you to choose your character and then it thrusts you straight into the game. The UI only has information relevant to the game. There's no banner, alert, or anything of the sort advertising that you can buy the latest skins. The only way you'd even know there's a market in this game is by clicking on the tiny shop button on the bottom right of the UI. It's so small and inoffensive, I actually forgot it was even there. That's it. Otherwise, you might catch on that there are some cool cosmetics in the game when you see a decked out player show up in one of the towns. Furthermore, skins are all available via direct purchase. Now, some of them are quite expensive, but their availability is utterly fair. You don't have to gamble on a loot box, you just buy the items that you want. Now, Path of Exile's monetization isn't perfect either. They do use the fear of missing out with their supporter packs that are only available for a limited time, although that is actually part of the appeal for some people. They also technically have a battle pass, though I'd understand if you didn't know that either, as it's not even available during the entire story campaign. Still, I think that Path of Exile serves as an excellent rubric for implementing fair and respectful monetization into a live service game. And it clearly works, as Path of Exile was able to generate enough revenue to keep pumping out updates for more than a decade, while also developing Path of Exile 2, which has been a blowout success. So developers don't have to worry about this type of monetization being unsustainable. As far as the cosmetics being offered, I do think that skins are an inevitability in Deadlock. They're simply too popular not to add. However, I hope that the art team at Valve are considerate of the gameplay impact that skins will have and design their skins accordingly. An option to turn off skins would be very welcome too, for those of us who want a pure, competitive, and fair gameplay experience. I also think that Deadlock can take another page out of Path of Exile's book and offer hideout decorations in the store. Path of Exile lets you buy premium hideout locations and decorations to customize your hideout, and players love this system. It allows for a ton of creative expression, but it also doesn't harm the gameplay experience in the same way that skins potentially can. No one cares if your hideout is messy and saturated with flashy dongles and doodads, cause that's not where the actual gameplay takes place. And yet, people still want to customize their hideout because it feels personal to them, and when you invite other players to your party, they get to see what your hideout looks like. Warframe does the same thing with its landing craft, and it's worked splendidly for them. In conclusion, I think that Deadlock is in a truly zen-like state right now, and that we need to appreciate it while it lasts. The lack of cosmetics in this game feels like an oasis in a desert with hostile monetization behind every dune. The fact that they're focused on gameplay first and monetization second is truly phenomenal for us players, and it's something that no other game studio could pull off. However, I have concerns about predatory monetization techniques being added in the future, and I hope that they steer clear of practices like loot boxes and battle passes in favor of direct purchasing cosmetics that don't muddy the gameplay but still allow players to express themselves in meaningful ways. But with that being said, what do you think about the current state of Deadlock and how the game will be monetized in the future? Do you agree with my analysis, or have I gotten something horribly wrong? Let me know in the comments section down below. While you're down there, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any uploads from me. And if you want to support my own channel's monetization, why not consider becoming a member? I waited until the end of the video to mention that because I respect your time and don't want to interrupt the video with a jarring ad like some other YouTubers. You get a ton of perks for becoming a member, and I made sure to price it fairly. All your support is greatly appreciated because it helps me keep making videos like this for you. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.